Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before we start, I want to inform you that the session is recorded for reporting and training purposes. Right, but let's get started with the fifth training session, so more or less Christmas edition of our training program. On the next slide, you see that the Train the Trainers program is organized in the frame of ConnectHeat. For our guests who don't know me yet, I'm Matthias Watzer-Kellmer. I'm working as project manager at Federen, and I will be your host of today's meeting with the support of my colleagues Clémence and Marta. With the fifth session, our aim is to learn more about non-financial cost-benefit analysis for thermal energy communities. But before that, a short view on our housekeeping rules before we dive into the agenda. Please keep your microphones muted to not disturb the presentations. And if you have questions during the presentations, raise your hand. One of us will always have an eye on the raised hands and ask for your comments. You can put your cameras on if you have a stable connection, but as I mentioned before the meeting, we will record it. If you don't feel comfortable, you can switch it off. Questions can always be put in the chat. We will try to answer them during the Q&A sessions after the presentations. If you have immediate questions, please raise your hand. So what brings us here today? On the next slide, you see that the fifth session is one session within our six-pack of Train the Trainer sessions. And this is our last meeting of this year. The next one will be a detailed analysis of a real-life example, which will be in combination, most likely with our project meeting in Stuttgart, to see a demo case as well and to have a detailed analysis of this demo implementation. Today's session aims to examine, evaluate, and highlight the broader impacts and considerations associated with decarbonizing heating and cooling systems beyond the financial aspects. It aims to explore the socioeconomic benefits that arise from implementing sustainable heating and cooling solutions, discussing topics such as community well-being. On the next slide, you can see the agenda for today's session. We have a delicate set of speakers today. We'll start with an introduction to the social costs and benefits of district heating systems provided by our project coordinator, Riccardo, from Ambiente Italia. Riccardo's presentation will dig into the topic of, after Riccardo's presentation, we will dig into the topic with Ole from the Dansk Fjernvarme, I hope I pronounced it somehow correctly, who will present the benefits of district heating. Following this, Antonio from Tecnalia will present the results of the European project Related and the operational impact of ultra-low temperature district heatings. And in our final session today, Tommaso from Banca Etica will present the social and environmental dividend and impact assessment used by Banca Etica to evaluate their projects. All in all, we have a very smooth set of presentations today, but without any further ado, please welcome Riccardo, Senior Project Manager on Renewable Energy at Ambiente Italia, who will present the social costs and benefits of district heating systems. Welcome, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Matthias. Good morning, everybody. I'm just trying to share my screen. Sorry, just a few seconds. I must tell you that the original plan was to have let's say a full presentation on this study I'm showing you now. So this one, I guess you are seeing my screen, yes. But then we found, as Matthias was saying in the introduction, three very interesting slots and three very interesting speakers, let's say. And so we decided to keep it very short. So basically, I will just tell you about the fact, let's say, that this study exists and what it contains. And then immediately after my presentation, I will send you the PDF file of this and of another I want to show you, because I think it could be very interesting. I mean, it doesn't make sense now to explore all the study in details, but here you find a lot of elements which are needed for a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis of district heating infrastructure and service. Of course, this is not, I mean, the topic today is to have a social economic cost-benefit analysis, so maybe not focusing too much on energy. In this case, the study is more comprehensive. So of course, it also deals with energy, but it's very interesting because the approach is really very holistic, let's say. So it really explore for example, the energy savings and the energy benefits, not only for the users of the district heating system, but more in general, what the community is earning by using this energy system. So for example, also the reduction of dependency from fossil fuels, so kind of an energy autonomy for the community. And this is very interesting because this is something we usually just say in a sentence. So we reduce the dependency and so on. And in this study, everything is really calculated. So everything is quantified. And then you have a final kind of welfare effect of the district heating system. Another interesting point is that this is from the Netherlands, where they have several district heating systems. So we will hear from Ole, especially about the experiences from Denmark. And so I think this is very interesting. It can be complementary, let's say, to what Ole will say. So it's an application to the city of Groningen, where they installed a district heating system, basically with the heat pumps. And but we also present a general method on how to assess all of these elements. So we just have a look at the table of contents of the index, just to give you an overview. So as you see, once again, here they have different scenarios to assess the social cost-benefit analysis of this district heating system in particular, and more in general with the methodology. Of course, so they define different scenarios of possible implementation of the district heating system. And then you have the different economic effects. So first of all, of course, on the users, so on the households, then more in general for the whole district heating system. Then, as I was saying before, there is also an estimation of the indirect economic effects. So for example, what is happening on the electricity network because of the introduction of this district heating system. Same for gas production and transport, or for other infrastructure. And then, of course, this is maybe the most interesting chapter for our topic today. So the external effects, so the external costs, let's say. So what are the environmental effect and what is their cost? Once again, everything is quantified in this study. And then also, what are the economic effects, let's say, from a macroeconomic point of view? So also from the point of view, for example, of the whole country. So what happens on the taxes, on the cash flows, and so in the end, an overall welfare effects is calculated. So once again, the study is really very detailed, but I think there are many interesting elements. So have a look at that. You don't have to dig into every details, for example, of these scenarios, but I think the methodology presented is very comprehensive. And so that's exactly the aim, the objective of our topic today for this the trainers. Another I wanted to show you is something we developed within another European project on renewable district heating, which was REST-DHC. We developed within this project a collection of fact sheets of available tools for, let's say, estimate, for example, the potential of renewable district heating. But within this document, with the fact sheet of available tools, once again, I want to show you here, you have a list of tools. We collected 15 different tools, which are all free tools. So these are not tools for purchase. But then in the end, one of the appendix of this document is how to evaluate REST-DHC policies. And why I want to show you this, because here we tried really to, let's say, it's the start of the work is not 100% detailed, but we tried really to start developing a comprehensive methodology to assess the benefits of developing, for example, district heating in a community. So we explain why you have to measure the results of your policy, and you can have, once again, a look and a read at the whole methodology. You see that we define different steps, but what I wanted to highlight today is this step 3. So which are the indicators you use to assess the benefits of the district heating, because this is today's topic for our train the trainers. And so we started to develop a list of potential indicators here. So you see that we have several possible indicators on the energy benefits of installing district heating systems. Of course, a series of indicators regarding the environment, and also about the economic and social effect on the community. So I think it could be also very interesting to have a look at these indicators, because this is not meant to be a list of mandatory indicators. So it's not that each case should use all of these indicators to evaluate the benefits of a district heating community or a heating community. But here you can pick, let's say, some of the indicators which fit the best, let's say, with your case. So I think this is also very interesting. And I would close here, and I will send you these 2 documents, because I think this can be, let's say, an inspiration also for your work on the pilot cases. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Ricardo, for sharing. Are there some questions on the presented papers already? If not, I would recommend that we collect them, and as Ricardo mentioned, we want to see them also in comparison to what Ole Juhl is going to present us. We might bundle these Q&A sessions together and see if we can then discuss with you both, for example, on the recommendations or on the differences between the 2 results and analysis, or the similarities most probably also. Okay. Then I say thank you, Ricardo, and we now move on to our next speaker, Ole Juhl. Ole is a senior consultant and project manager in the heating department of Dansk Fjernvarme, most probably.
Doing well, Matthias. Thank you.
He will dig into the benefits of district heating. Ole, thanks and welcome.
Thank you, Matthias.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, and very interesting about the Dutch analyst, Ricardo. I think there's many benefits from there that are directly inflected in what experience we have here in Denmark. I'll start sharing a little presentation I prepared for you guys. And there's not a lot of numbers. On the contrary, it's more about what's in it for you as district heating companies, and most important for the users, the consumers, the customers, whatever we call them. And a little information from the cold north. If I get a little distracted from time to time, it's because we got a hurricane coming up from western part of Norway and hitting Denmark right now. So I can see things passing by my window very fast. So feel nice if you have warm weather wherever you are. My history, just to say why I'm sitting here. I'm working with district heating in many years, and in total supply industry and supply in general for 37 years now. My work has taken me around to services, technical sales, marketing, business development, management, strategic management. So I've been a little around in the business, working with supply industry for many years now. On top of that, I have personal experience in developing and taking the first step into making district heating available in the city where I live. So I know the drill about what's in it technical, but also for the society and for the consumers. First, a little story about Dansk Fjernvarme, Danish district heating, translated directly. We are a non-profit organization of district heating companies, 4 district heating companies in Denmark, and we are having the political contact and influence towards our government and authorities. The most important that we do is that we handle the interests from all the district heating companies in Denmark and presenting them to both the political and authority level, ensuring that our regulations are made as we think are the best, or we at least have some influence in the regulations. Because of our long history and because we are having a lot of members, we have a very positive and constructive dialogue with our government and with our authorities, because we have the same goal. We want our neighbors, our inhabitants in Denmark to have a stable and efficient heat supply for their homes. On top of that, not just the political influence, we also have specialists. We have legal, economical, technical assistance, because many of our members are very small organizations, perhaps only 1 and 2 employees, a manager and an office manager. They can't have all their specialist issues internally in their own organization, so we actually have hired people. That's why we have very easy to understand both the technical, the legal, and economical challenges for the companies. Our members are closing up to 400 now, but 352 district heating companies out of close to 400 in Denmark, covering almost 100% of the district heating members of Denmark. So we have a big voice and a lot of experience. The 352 district heating companies have together 2 million households. 2/3 of the household of Denmark have heating from district heating, covering from the largest city, our capital Copenhagen, to the second, third, and fourth largest, but also very small companies covering nearly only 100 households. So there's a large diversity in both small and big, and we're covering all over the country and having 2/3 of our households having district heating. I say it that way, it is many people and households who have decided that district heating are the best for them, and not oil, gas, coal, whatever, electricity. No, they have decided district heating is the best for our household and our families. On top of that, the companies produce around, again, 2/3 of thermal electricity production, because we have made a combination of electricity production and heat production. In that way, we use, for instance, waste cooling water from engines and other electricity productions, putting it to use in the district heating network. So we, on top of that, are developed into a combined production here of electricity and heat. We have also starting up district heating cooling, district cooling, because many companies today uses IT systems, glass fronts, and have climate utilities for their environment internally in the houses. And also on top of that, we see new players, power-to-X platforms, carbon capture and storage. That's a big industry growing here in Denmark. And all that is combined. We are not just saying, electricity is a special one for you guys. We don't are interested as a district heating company. Actually, we're seeing there's a combined value here when we combine all the kind of utilities that we have in our society. That's a little about our organization. But what are the status of the district heating in Denmark today? And you can see on the map, we have here a lot of industries, and the green ones are very efficient according to our government, and the red ones are not that efficient. And you can see there are very few, 1 or 2 perhaps, and mainly it's because they are using natural gas to make their heat or electricity. In Denmark, the status are, we have a little bit more than 3 million households. 2 million households uses district heating. The rest are using natural gas, oil, electricity, wooden pallets, heat pumps, that kind of district heating and energy supply that we are moving away from, especially the first fossil like gas and oil, but also the biomass from wooden pallets we are moving away from. But we have a transition period for the biomass because it's a very big change for many companies that they have to change into perhaps electricity, heat pumps, or something like that. In Denmark, as I said, there are close to 400 district heating platforms, and the mainly part of them are cooperative as a non-profit organization. I think in Denmark we only have 15 that are not cooperative. They are owned by the municipality. It's not allowed in Denmark to own it as a private company. You're not allowed to earn money or own a district heating company. It's all about non-profits. I come back a little later to why is that. It's also proven itself as a very stable company type. The average age of the district heating plant companies in Denmark are around 50 years. Some of them started as early as the beginning of the 19th century and have been there more for 100 years now. The platform and the companies have changed, certainly, but it's now around 50 years. The production is not as old. It's around 8 to 10 years in average. It's changing a lot in production, but saying that is that the consumer's part and the pipes are not changing that often because it's very expensive to change. But the production we can change very easy. It's very concentrated in a plant, and we can add on to using the best production as we can. On top of that, we have a high user satisfaction and loyalty. Many consumers don't think about where the heat is coming from, and when they are asked, even though they have got a district heating for many years, they're saying, we don't know, we know it's come from the radiator in the room. They don't know they have a district heating plant nearby them. They forget it because it's a high success. Otherwise, we see that people who have natural gas burners, they have oil burners, wood pellets, etc. They are very much aware where the heating are coming from because they need to look at it very often. Either they have a technician coming and visit them, or they have to supply the wood pellets. They have to worry about now comes the bill for the oil delivery part, and so on and so on. And that's very key to the success is that it's one of the cheapest, and if not the cheapest form of heating in our country. We can see that people are talking very low prices, and especially here a year ago when the gas and electricity prices hit the fan, we have a movement in Denmark saying we need to have district heating as a supply for many more societies. So in our society, we have decided that close to 300,000 users of natural gas have to change to something else. And the recommendation from the government and authorities are in the cities, use district heating, and out in the, so to say, in countryside, please use a kind of heat pump. That's the best way of using it. So it's the status today. And as you can say, we are it's very positive to be in the district heating business. People like it. We are talking, it's filling up. When we meet each other at different places, there's always a discussion about the energy prices and could you use district heating? Is it possible? So it's actually having a lot of place in our heart and in our society. There's nothing come from itself, and the background for this is that the precondition before the 70s, in the 70s, we had an energy crisis that hit very hard. Those of us who are old enough can remember when the gas prices increased, when here in Denmark we have days without, it was not allowed to drive your car. You have to walk. It was Saturdays, so we enjoyed it very much actually. And many people saw it as an opportunity to get a walk in the highway because it was dangerous to do it so before. But before that, we in Denmark have a strong cooperative movement. We have got cooperative ownership of the water sector since the middle of the 18th century. Agriculture sector also for many years, it was actually farmers in Denmark who got the idea about going together and building a dairy. And that has been a part of our way of thinking here up north. Electricity close to the year 1900s, where we started making a cooperative electricity supply. And the first district heating company in Denmark opened in 1903, as you can see, more than 100 years ago. And also the movement include football, that we won the EM in 92. So we like to do things together, and we think when we go together, we are very strong at it. It's easier to lift something when you are many people than instead of one. Then the energy crisis hit us hard in the 70s because in Denmark at that time we didn't have any production of coal, oil, gas or whatsoever. We had some ideas about there could be something, but we didn't have any production. It came later. Energy and heat started to plan. We did it out of idea about it should be more cost efficient. It should be easier for the people to get access to cheap heat and electricity. And we started up making a legislation where the main decision, the main element is that heat should be a non-profit sector, because it has a very hard influence on the private economy. And in the 70s, we saw that many people struggled with paying their oil bills, coal bills at that time. So the overall idea was nobody are allowed to earn money on making heat, and at that time also electricity and water. The results speaks for themselves. 2/3 of the households have district heating. We are proud, close to 400 district heating companies. It's a non-profit sector with a very attractive and very stable price. And the stable price is one of the key elements in the benefits for the society and for the people behind. Putting a little numbers and a little years to the history. In the 60s, growth on private and municipality initiative. In the 70s, we decided that there should be a kind of legislation about it, a regulation saying how to do it. And also we thought we should have the first ideas about surplus heat. How should we use waste heat, so to say? At that time, we had a large production of electricity from plants in Denmark using cooling water just pumped into the sea. And we could see up here there was no ice close to those electricity units platforms. And the fish were also very bigger there. So we actually decided to say this heat we could use for something. And we used it for district heating. In the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s, we got the first regulation, we got the law, we got the planning from government, we got the planning from the authorities, and we started building up the networks, expanding the existing network, so they were not just in the big cities and the main cities, but also in many smaller villages, going down to 70 as the smallest I have heard about. When we came up to more present time in the 90s and the zeros, we also saw that we could use much more different kind of energy source. Biomass, we had natural gas coming up in the 90s. We were actually seeing that oil was a limited resources here in Denmark, so we shouldn't use it for making electricity or district heating. But we got a lot of gas, we got a lot of biomass, we could use that for something. So it made us also more stable in, so to say, supply, because we had a lot of different energy sources to pull on. When the oil hit the fan, the prices hit the fan, we could change oil burning to gas or biomass. And when the oil get lower in price, we could take away natural gas and burn a little oil instead of that. As I compared district heating as an energy Swiss knife, we have the consumers at the network and the production plant. You can change what energy source you like, and it's very easier to change energy source at one place to something else. Over the zeros, we were very business as usual. There was a consolidation. The people were happy about it. We didn't think much about it, but we started looking up for sustainable heats. In Denmark, we had the green movement before the zeros, and we started to look into windmills, and we looked for other parts that were sustainable and reusable energy, saying how could we combine that into the district heating companies. And actually we started without knowing the green transition here in Denmark for 20 years ago. In the 10s, we started to grow again because the energy prices increased. Many people were talking about renewables, integration. We had to put different sectors more closer together. And so when we had the large production of electricity because of the wind, then instead of just sending the electricity to Norway or other countries, we could use it for district heating, making a large boiler with electricity and like that kind of stuff. Moving up to now, the 20s, energy crisis hit again. And when we have a crisis as humans, we also get creative and we starting thinking, how should we move away from imported fuels? How should we move away from fossil fuels? And how should we look into collecting carbon dioxide? That's the way we're looking at it now, saying how can we increase that movement that moves us away from the things that are environmental and climate challenge and making a world a more green place to live. That is where we are now. So saying just a short, how is it used? Heat and areas and how heat insulation by building types. And you can see it's not just one kind where we have a lot of houses. It also detached houses. We have multi-dwelling houses. There large diversity. It's not just one size that fits all. We have it all over different kinds of households. And because we have here in Denmark a lot of detached houses, then most of the heat demands come from detached houses. But also we see that multi-dwelling houses, housing associations are very into getting district heating because it lifts some technical issues for them and providing them with very stable energy again. Type of energy we use, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of different kind, and for the next years we are looking into making it more diversity, but also taking something away. As you can see here, we will have a high level of, we still have a high level of biomass because we're using actually waste wood and waste straw that were not to be used for anything. We can use it in our district heating production. We will lower our value in lower our amount of natural gas and coal, taking it away we like, but we are realistic in saying we will still need some natural gas for special productions that are very demanding, but also we will use it little in some special areas that need it and as a backup supply, heat supply. Solar heat, a little, coal taken away, biogas taking a little over because there is a way of making carbon dioxide more taken out of business here. So we are estimating that when we're coming around the 30s, we will have a high level of renewable energy and probably will have moved away from burning anything to get it heat. The prices is a very important thing for the consumers. Saying it's non-profit, yes, it is. There are nobody that earns money from providing people with district heating. But for the consumers, it's very important that the price is stable, but also attractive. And as you can see here, we have from the data, we have made statistics from the Danish utility regulator, looking into what is the price levels for different kind of heatings. And you can see district heating are the most attractive in price. That was in 21. We know now that here in 32, the natural gas and oil are a little bit cheaper, but not as cheap as district heating. The house we look into here is a house in 130 square meters. It's a very average house to the small side here in Denmark, but actually it's very easy to identify yourself into it. And you can also see the price over the years in the curve in the top are very stable. It's not twisting that much. You don't have any jumps up and down as we have seen it in gas and electricity. Stable price and attractive price. And that's one of the key issues for the users is we like stable price. We don't like any surprises in our private economy. We look into a very low price in our heating, making more money for the individual users to use of anything else. Then they can buy their flat screens, TV or whatsoever. They want a bigger car or just want to buy a steak for it. But they use a lot less money on the district heating, on their heating. But what is district heating basically? You guys know there's a lot of technology behind it. We have some consumers, we have some pipes, we have some production plants. But as I said, in essence, district heating is actually a group of people going together and sharing the bill. Here we have a lot of people going together and have a regulation that concurs to do so, and we just share the bill. And most important, the last and second oldest sharing economy. Sharing economy, many things is a new invention, but in district heating, we made it available in the beginning of the last century, so we share the bill. We also see we have a very high of adaptability, a flexible production on heat. When the ball game changes, we see it now here in the natural gas and electricity are going very high in the bill. We can change our heat production to something else, something more cheap or something more easy to get the hold on. There's also a supply insurity in supply chain here we have to look into. And when we see the electricity is going down, the production of electricity are going down, or as we saw it earlier, the wood chips, we couldn't get access to them, that can just change the production to something else. And that is why people don't see any problems. We have a centralized production making more easy to change your things, and you have a more stable economy. Operating personnel can work with advanced technology. They need to. So we actually see that it's very interesting for people to get their jobs and their career inside the supply industry, because it's very advanced technology and it's very interesting for people to work with that kind of technology. And the district heating companies can focus on the sustainable operation, economy, and production. You don't have to focus on a financial profit. You don't have to think that there's a shareholder in Dubai and other countries that need to have that 20% of that outcome from district heating. If we earn money and a company have at the end of the year have earned more money than they're allowed to, they have to pay it back to the users, so it comes back to the people who have paid the bill. So staff can work positive with the technical high skills and knowledge that don't have to think about how to earn money to our owners. They are, as I said, very focused on providing with cheap, stable, and efficient energy for their users, who also are the consumers. And as I said, district heating in our country is a kind of Swiss knife of energies. They have a lot of tools. They have the pipes, and the customers' technology are the same. They have a unit in the house, and they have the pipes in the ground. Updating there is not as high needed. We are talking very long lifetime of the pipes, close to 70 or close to 100 years actually. So all the development and the change are happening in the production areas. We have a lot of things to pull on. As I said, wood chip, heat pump, straw, waste heat, solar collectors, biogas, waste incineration. We have electricity boilers, natural gas, oil, coal, and geothermal. So we have a lot of different kind of energy sources. And the benefit is it's very easy to switch to a cheap energy or accessible energy and a more efficient technology. It's very easy. It's much more easier to change the whole thing at one place instead of going to many households to make it more efficient. That's also why we see it's very easy for us here in Denmark to look into the green transition, because we don't have to go to 2 million households for changing from biogas or coal or oil. We just have to go to 400 plants to change for 2 million people, households. So that's some benefits. Very efficient. And the things that we're seeing coming up now, it's actually the geothermal, and we are not like Iceland. We are not having volcano in the ground. We have nothing much in the ground, but if you dig deep enough, a couple of kilometers, we are actually able to get usable warm water for district heating. So that's one thing coming up now. Finally, the customer, who also are the owners, the drivers for them, and what do they get from it? The users, they say they got the most stable heating bill for many years to come. They're actually saying, when I build a house and I have chosen my district heating, I don't have to worry about changing the price level. It's very stable for many years, and it's very easy for me to make a budget for my private economy. You have only a small unit indoor and not something as big as a 200-liter freezer or whatever, cooler. You have a small unit, 50 times 60 centimeters. You just prepare the hot water for you. And you have more space in your utility room or your workshop, wherever you installed it. It gets a lot of people to share the bill with. So if they are in need of a new pump or a new burner or whatsoever, you are not one people who should buy your own. There's a lot of people buying one together, and that makes it more cheaper for everybody individually. You become more independent of major political influence and conflicts, because if the politicians change something, we have a way to react to it. If they want to increase the taxes on biomass, then we can just move away from biomass and looking into perhaps geothermal or other things that are very difficult to tax, because if you use geothermal, there are no pollution, there's nothing to tax. It's very difficult for the politicians to do that. And if you have a major conflict, now we see a conflict with Teslas, but from time to time we also see conflicts with transport workers, with ships, whatsoever. We don't care because we can change to anything else. You have people have experts to choose the cheapest and the best energy source for them. They have high-skilled technicians working at the platforms and the utilities that know their work, that know what they're doing. They know more interested in making more efficient and more quiet and more cheap. And important, if you change away from a gas burner to a water or a heat pump, you have some noise from the fans. You don't have that in the district heating area, so it's the most silent heating in the world. It's very quiet, and actually silent is the new gold in the Western world, because we are living in areas where there are coming more people, more transport, and more noise. So we see in global scale that actually silenceness is the new gold. Get better house prices. We can see that prices for the house, when you try to sell your house in a district heating area, are higher than other areas, and it's more easy to sell because there's a very high comfortable value into it. You don't have to pay for a new boiler, a heat pump every 15-20 years. You're doing that together in the production plant, and you have something to share the bill with. You have paid for repairs and maintenance of the district heating company. That's a part of the operation bill, so you don't have to think that I had to put money aside for a new pump or anything in the coming years. And actually, even though we got a legislation and it's a non-profit area, we see that we have more competition for energy heating. Instead of just having electricity or just having gas, we now have district heating and electricity in the area. So we can always change into something else. If I feel that district heating is getting unattractive, I can change to electricity if I like, and the other way around. That was my words. Any question? Or are you just asleep now?
Thank you, Ole, for the very interesting presentation. I've
Welcome.
followed it closely. I don't know if there are questions in the audience. I have a couple of them. So Ricardo wants to go first with the first question, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't want to steal your question, but I was curious. Thanks for the presentation. You mentioned several times, of course, the point of view of the users, which I think is very important also in Italy. For example, we see many times a kind of a local opposition to this centralized system. So it's very important to highlight this benefits for the users. But of course, another barrier, let's say, is from the point of view of the local authority. For example, for the municipality, which has a role anyway. If I remember well, in Denmark, you have to, when you develop a new district heating project, you have to submit kind of a cost-benefit analysis to the municipality. So I was wondering whether this is only concerns, let's say, the prices, so a comparison of prices with respect, for example, to individual solutions, or do you have to present also a more holistic cost-benefit analysis showing the benefits to the community, and then the local municipality can get more interested in such a project, let's say?
Thank you very much for the question. It's very relevant because it's very important not to see only at the consumer's point of view, but also the whole society, the municipality. And when we have to have a project clearance from the municipality, we have to provide the municipality with a calculation for the whole municipality. What is it a good solution for the society and for the municipality, not only for the individual user? So yes, we have the same analysis and we have the same calculation. What's the best, not only for the consumers, but also for the municipality. And also on top of that, we actually see that our municipalities have opened their eyes for more, I would say, for district heating, because as I said, silence is a new gold, and we can see in areas and cities with a lot of heat pumps, they got a lot of complaints about noise now. Because when you have a suburb where people are living close together and the households are close together, if everybody install their own heat pump, they get a lot of noise. And I know for me, if I live in a house and I like to have a heat pump, I will place it in such a way it won't disturb me. But in my place, it will actually disturb my neighbor because it's where he got his garden. So we can see if you have a close in a city or something like that, the municipalities, they are actually encouraging to have district heating because it's better for the municipality. There are less complaints. The authorities don't have to use their time on it, and it's better in that way. Yeah. And also in a finance way, it's better actually. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Matteo?
Matteo?
Yeah, thank you. My question is that approach for municipalities that, for instance, in Italy is quite innovative. I mean, because when we talk with people in the municipalities, civil servants, we find at present a totally different approach here. So my question is it dependent also from the work that was done before, like heat planning, like energy plans, all those things that can prepare the ground to those people who have to make decisions?
Yeah.
Or is it something that simply, since district heating is working, so now it's, how can I say, it's, wow, it works and no problems, you can go on?
In the 60s, a little story here. In the 60s, there was a high movement against towards district heating. And then in the last 10 or 20 years, we got a more liberal way of thinking. Also here in Denmark, there has been a move towards more liberal thinking, and therefore district heating was not super popular. The people who got it were happy about it, but individuals didn't like that much about it. So we actually had to reinvent the storytelling about what's the benefit of the non-profit district heating. And in that situation, out of that, we also need to educate, so to say, in our authorities. But we did it in that way. We were not starting a fight or movement. We just sit down and talked about the benefits together with the municipality, with the authorities, starting to tell them what's in it for you, so to say. And in that way, we got now a great cooperation together with the municipalities and the heat plants. When the government and authorities look into areas, what's the best idea they have, they actually look very nice on district heating and saying it's a good idea because it can do something, not just for the individual, but for the whole municipality. And also in some authorities at home here have got the knowledge that if everybody should have heat pumps and electrical cars, our electricity cables are not big enough. So it's also a way of making our overall efficiency in our heat power supply system. So
thank you.
Yes, there have been a change of history, but overall now we have a good dialogue, we have a good cooperation, and we encourage our consumers, our district heating companies, and population villages. We see now that the people in villages that don't have a district heating go to their municipalities, say, we like to look at district heating as an option for our society. And then we encourage to do so very early, so you actually include the municipality in the work, in the planning and overall. And it's a very good idea to do that, very efficient. So we see it now, a very high cooperation, yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Tore, next. Yeah, thanks. Tore, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Matthias. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was really very interesting, but I have a question about the customers. It was mentioned that they are also owners. What does it mean? Can you explain a little bit more?
I should try to.
The equipment.
Thank you. I'll try to. It works in that way that the users, to become a user of a district heating company, you have to buy a share. And in Denmark, we have a legislation saying only the users are allowed to buy that share. but it's a way of ensuring that when you have to pay the bill and you have to share the bill, then you know what part you are sharing. So it's a way of, how should I put it, agreement between the users and the company saying how to share the bill. I don't know if that's the best answer I can give you or it's fulfilling, but you could actually say in that way, you only, when you buy a share of a company, you are only allowed to buy a share if you buy their products. But if you buy their products, you know, because you have the share, you are a part of the owners and therefore also regulates the price level, and you have influence the politics and the decision at the company.
Yeah,
So,
thank you
yeah.
very much. Understood.
Welcome.
It's really energy community then.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a short follow-up question on the users and on basically also more related to the people who are not connected to the district heating grid yet, because you said like it's 2/3 of the people are connected. So there's 1/3 that has not connected, despite the fact that it's the cheapest available energy source, despite the fact that you have 40+ years of experience in district heating. It's a well-recognized community. So you summarized so many positive aspects why to join. Is it the reason that there is the too low heat density to implement a heating grid, or are there other reasons why those remaining 1/3 of the population does not join the heating communities and the district heating nets?
Thank you. In my opinion, they have made a wrong decision. So no, there's a little story here. It's because when we go back to the 80s, the overall idea in Denmark was that please use natural gas. We developed natural gas in the North Sea, and we could see here in Denmark it's very easy to change away from oil to gas, and it was very easy to do so. Now we can see naturally they are fulfilling it, and also there is areas where you've got low density of houses and it can't make financial worthwhile doing so. So that's the main stories. And but now we can see that that natural gas, we are moving away from that financial, and it's because of the climate and so on. So people are moving either to heat pumps or to district heating, and we can see in cities we look very much at district heating, and in the low density areas, the small villages, the small farmhouses, they will use heat pumps.
Makes it still difficult for the electricity grid to have this very rural households then connected to district to heat pumps as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I agree that not all people take the right decisions. But one more question is also linked to the fact of more rural areas connected to district heating. In a lot of areas, we have the discussions, or I feel the discussions on moving the district heating to the district heating 4.0, 5.0, whatsoever, basically to reduce the temperature within the grid. You have also mentioned during your presentation that the investments in the plant is normally done, so that the source is changed, but rather seldom the district heating grid itself is updated. So is there a movement to also switch to low temperature district heating in Denmark, or is this not yet a topic in Denmark?
It's a very high topic. That's one of the most easiest way to make your cheap bill, your heating bill lower, actually, to lower the forward temperature, but also ensure that the return temperature are even lower. As we say, we like to have ice water in the pipes, because then we can easier make use of our more efficient production areas. I don't know when you say low temperature, in Denmark, we have a temperature around 60 degrees. But still there are experimentation with temperature as low as 50 degrees, 55 degrees in that area. when I say we don't change the pipes very often, we do it when it's necessary. And we can see if a pipe is broken or leaking, it's necessary. That's the obvious one. But we can also see that if a pipe is getting the isolation get punctured because of a rock or something, they get water into the isolation and then the heat waste is enormous, then we change it. But we can actually see the old pipes, as long as they are not leaking or getting broken, they have a high level of efficiency and isolation. They're not losing that much warmth. So estimated time now is that we think the pipes will be in the ground for close to 100 years because the technology is very high now on that part. That was the obvious one to work with for many years. We had started with concrete channel with steel pipes and the isolation around it, and then some more concrete on the top, and it was getting very wet and not holding, not stable, lifetime was very short. Then we changed it to pre-isolated pipes, also pipes with steel pipes with isolation and a plastic PVC around it, and they have an expected lifetime that's close to 100 years now. So that's why I'm saying we don't have to change that often. And the units in the whole household are very efficient now. Naturally, from time to time, we see a one that breaks down, but it's not that often.
Okay. So to lower the temperature, you'll also need to reduce the consumption then in the households too.
Yeah, and we changed it. We can see that over the years, when we started in Denmark, we had the temperature around 80, 90 degrees because they were necessary. Now we are going down to 60, 55, 60 degrees without changing that much in the households and not changing the pipes at all. Actually, we're seeing because the houses are also getting more efficient now. Better windows, more isolation, etc., etc. Actually, we can see the houses are using less energy, and that has actually shown a new problem that the pipes are too big. So
yeah, but if you have too big pipes,
way,
you can reduce the
also
temperature.
a
Then always.
Benefit here because when we become more houses and we want the neighbors with me, we got our pipes. We don't have to increase the size of the pipes because the households use less heat.
Thanks. Very, very interesting.
Welcome.
I'm opening the floor again for any further follow-up questions. But otherwise, I would say let's take a short break and meet again at 11:15 for the next presentation. Just a moment to grab another coffee for the addicted ones.
Thank you.
And thanks again.
Welcome.
See you in a bit. So welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone has used a couple of minutes of the break and is looking forward to our next activities within this training session. So let's welcome our third speaker, Antonio. He is a project engineer at Tecnalia. Antonio will present the results of the European project related and the operational impact of ultra-low temperature district heating. Antonio, I hope you are already back from the break as well. But maybe he needs another minute.
I don't see him connected yet.
Oh, I saw him before.
Yeah, he was connected. I think he left. Maybe he's having. Okay. Should be here.
Yes. Hi. Sorry.
Fantastic.
last moment issue. So you're ready.
Okay.
I will present right now. My apologies.
No worries. So Antonio, I'm not sure if you heard the introduction. It's a project engineer at Tecnalia. He will present the results of the project related and operational impact and ultra low temperature district heating.
Yes.
So Antonio, thanks for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
So again, sorry for this last minute issue. I think you can see already my presentation. Okay,
yes,
so I'm
fine.
going to present two demo cases we had in the related project. I hope they are interested for you. So the related project was a European project that finished 2 years ago. Last year in September. It was looking to develop concepts around ultra-low temperature district heating. This means the last generation of district heating. Of course, you know that the lower temperature we work, the fewer losses we'll have. And this, of course, will mean to reduce operational costs. This has a lot of implications because when you reduce the temperature of your network, you have many benefits for the environment, for the people working, for the economy of the district heating, but also you have to be very careful to provide the thermal comfort to the users. So this is what we did in this project. There are two demo cases I want to present. The one in Spain was at the police complex. With 2 buildings attached to this district heating, so it's a small scale district heating, but it was really interesting because it was a mixed configuration. It has dormitories, it has office facilities, gyms, and swimming pools. This means a lot of heat loads 24/7 around the year because they never stop the operation as they are the police. This was served by 2 boilers delivering heating and domestic hot water at the complex at 80 degrees. Okay, 80 degrees is a normal temperature for this kind of networks, but we try to work at 35 in parallel to the pre-existing conventional district heating network. We work at 35 of distribution. This does not mean that we work at 35 within the buildings because they had all radiators, but we had some locally deployed heat pumps that were connected to the district heating. So this was really interesting. You can see here in the figure the complex as it was. So here was the facility, the infrastructure for the central boiler, and these are the buildings that were served by the district heating. One of the things we introduce working at low temperatures are building integrated solar thermal systems. You can see here how we install them. The interesting thing when you work at low temperature is that the renewable energy will work at a higher efficiency because you don't work at high temperatures. I like to show these pictures because they show how we start with the collectors from the beginning, how there later we start putting the distribution systems, and later on how we had the finish the works. One thing I mentioned is that when you work at low temperatures, the benefits is that you work at high efficiencies. This is true for the solar thermal system, but also for the heat pumps. So if you work at an outdoor temperature of minus 15, you will be working at around 2 COP of 2. But if you work at higher temperatures like 15, you will be working almost more than double of coefficient of performance, which is what you want. That's why we put these heat pumps working against the district heating instead of outdoor temperature. Okay. Also, we include preheating of the domestic hot water, and also the swimming pool. We use it as a sink of heat in case we have a lot of production. The final scheme we have in Spain is this one. It was a district heating distribution at 35 and returning at 30, where we had attached the old boilers, but now they work. This one was working at 80, but the new one was working at 35. This meant an important increase of efficiency. There was also in parallel, the old system was working at 80 because some of the buildings we could not prepare for the low temperature distribution. This is the manifolds that we include, the solar system, the distributed heat pumps, the domestic hot water demand. We cover also the swimming pool and the cooler. The important thing about the heat pumps is that they would work at the heating season. So let's say in Spain that would be from October to March, but also in the winter season. They were reversible. So when we had summer, we had also the heat pumps working, and with the heat rejection from the heat pumps, we will feed the district heating networks to prepare district heating, domestic hot water, and also for the swimming pool, because this is summer, so we don't need this for the heating of the buildings. The lessons learned was that most of the plants that exist today are oversized. So, for example, in the case of the Spanish demo case in related, one of the boilers was not working at all during the year. Maybe it was working for 20 hours during the heating season. This is nothing because they always wanted to have a backup. Okay, you can have a backup of 20% of your peak demand, but this is double. This is at least 80-90% oversized. That means that you are working really inefficiently. You're working far below your nominal point, and you're working in suboptimal conditions. Therefore, retrofitting projects on existing district heating networks have high improvement because they work so far away from their optimal point that there is a lot of improvement for energy savings. The implementation of the heat pumps working in reversible modes were really an increase in the efficiency because they show better performance in both heating and cooling when compared to normal heat pumps. This is also very important. The integration of building integrate solar thermal systems decrease carbon footprint of existing district heating networks. This means that every time you put waste heat or renewable energies into a district heating network, you would reduce the carbon footprint significantly. And also, this is there was a success case study because the police, let's say the part of the branch of the government that runs the police were really happy, and they were going to foster this in other public buildings. Of course, looking for similar configurations where local variations need to be sought. Biomass, more solar or geothermal or whatever. This was one of the demo case, and now one of the questions is, okay, you're working at less temperature, you're working even at 35 degrees. Most of the systems you will have inside the buildings will not work at this temperature. I'm saying conventional radiators, I'm saying even fan coils, radiant floors, okay, can work at 35, but you are in the middle. So you need to really deploy a way to assess that the community well-being is kept stable. You fight against Legionella, you fight against thermal comfort being below your threshold. What do? Well, nowadays everything is about data, so you collect data and you analyze this data. In the figure, we are looking at how district heating works. When there is a warm period, when you are above 5 degrees, you will work at 75 temperature of distribution. Of course, when you go down to -20, and I can assure you that in Estonia, you are at -20 for some weeks of the month, you must go to a distribution temperatures of 100. On the return line, you will be getting these temperatures. You need to assess that you are getting these temperatures on distribution, because if you are not, then the people on the buildings are not getting what they have paid for. So what we did in Tartu is reduce the temperature of operation and assess that we were getting what we promised. So there is this. This is the scheme of the district heating network we work with. This is only a small part of the complete network they have in Tartu. And the reason is because, of course, when you reduce temperature in the district heating, you want to go step by step. So the district heating network operates between 75, 45, and 110 and 60 degrees. Delivers a huge amount of energy every year to more than 1,500 consumers. The network is increasing because of the importance of the district heating in these countries. So this was quite a challenge. I'm saying that there is more than 1,500 consumers connected, but we only connect to 54 substations, as I said, to start with a small demo case. As I said, we had connected smart meters to different parts of the district heating network. This means before and after the substations for both domestic hot water and space heating, and also in the distribution. This is something that we're going to see more each day, because on the last decade, we have seen a great progress in the deployment of smart heat meters. They are cheaper. It's cheaper also to store the data, and also we have better data analysis tools. Of course, artificial intelligence, but also other techniques that don't imply machine learning. So this is how we're going to analyze the operational excellence of networks. So when we load the temperature of our network, we must ensure that all the substations are working in the optimal conditions. So we equip the network with heat meters in all building substations. As I said, there were 54 substations, and all of them have at least 5 sensors to analyze what was happening. The accuracy of the devices that we put were over 95. And we have data for the mixing chamber, for the individual substation on the primary side, from the individual substations on the secondary side of the heating, and individual substations on the secondary side of the domestic hot water. So again, on this we have on the primary side, on the secondary side, and on the distribution. Sorry, on the primary side and on the secondary side and on the distribution side. What we were looking that all the substations were looking like this. This is for the supply. So the supply was working as I saw on the first slides that we were working at around 100. We reduced to below 90 for the distribution. So this was first reduce the temperature of distribution, and second assess that what you were looking what you were giving to the consumers was optimal. So all your substations must look like this one: supply and return. Domestic hot water, also very important to be above 55, because this is the threshold for the health requirements in Tartu for the Legionella. So you need to assess that all the substations on the domestic hot water side are working above 55. And also we were looking how much was the thermal losses in the branch. So we were looking on the close to the mixing chamber and at the substation level. So there is, you cannot see it because we were really, the system was really, they had no thermal losses. So there is a red line that you cannot see because there was really, really low thermal losses at the distribution. Now, this is what we, before the intervention, there was no smart meter, there was no data. And after, we were capable to check this, all of these graphs, all of this group of graphs belong to a substation. So you can see here 10,200 whatever, 10,512. All of them we were checking at the same time on a live manner. So we were saying weird things sometimes, and we can set an alarm. You are not working, you are not giving what you promised. You may have some problem with the domestic hot water, and this is a very satisfying result because we were able to check 54 substations with really low effort. So as I said, what we want to see is this, but you can see sometimes you are not getting the same. So an alarm was fixed for every time you are not having the desired behavior. Again, on the secondary side, you want to have a small, so this will be the supply and the return on the secondary side, and you want to have, yes, this was the thermal gains on the secondary side of the heating, and you don't want to see this because then you are not working on optimal conditions. Something is wrong with your substation. Domestic hot water, this will be a good behavior. This will be a behavior that you are not that you don't desire on your substation, and therefore an alarm was set. You can see here that for every hour in the day, for the complete heating season, we were analyzing the domestic hot water, and there will be low differences in one of the substations, a big difference in the substation for the heating season. The alarm was also capable of showing the substation that we had the problem. So, okay, Polu, Muru, Kumeli, you have a problem in that substation, check it. Of course, the most problematic of the substations were those with high capacity, like this one. And this is the 132 kilowatts for that substation. That one had problems when you lower the temperature, but also the ones located at the end of the line. At the end of the line, you have more thermal losses because you are going for a longer distance, and this will mean more problems when reducing the temperature. Conclusions: if you're going to work at low temperature in your district heating, data monitoring is an essential tool for the optimization. On the Tartu, it's funny because before the deployment of the sensors, they were working at high temperature. They never had problems because the temperature was so high that they were always getting the temperature desired at building level. But they were working also at a reactive manner. They will know the problems of the issues at the substations only if the consumers call the central plant. So the alarm was that people were complaining, and this is a business, and you don't want people to be unhappy. So when you work with data monitoring, that would mean that you can anticipate the problem before somebody calls you and and are happy. It's really time consuming to analyze the data in a traditional way, but the automation to improve the district heating operation, it's identifying issues in real time in a really easy and fast manner. I don't know if I have it here, but the creation of this graph for 54 substations was in less than 10 minutes. So every half an hour we will get new data. We will proceed all the data in half an hour, in 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes. This will mean that you know on 10 minutes what the problem you have. So I think it's a very promising result. This will allow you to continuous commissioning to ensure that the system operation is satisfactory even in the new supply temperature levels. If you know that all the substations are working perfect, then you can go lower with your temperature. And you can lower the temperature until you get problems at the substations. That's really helpful. And also allows you to have a proactive approach to further optimize the district heating operation. No major failure has been observed, meaning that lowering temperature is feasible. Substation identified through the screening process have been found to be operating very close to the threshold criteria. That's really good because you are saving money, but you are at the same time working at the threshold criteria. As a consequence of the analysis, we reduce even more the temperature. The data-driven supervision is meant to remain in the district heating network after the project was ended to ensure that energy efficiency measures are compatible with satisfactory delivery of energy to customers. This was what I wanted to present today. I hope it was clear. I hope it was interesting and helped you on your goals.
Thank you, Antonio. I wanted to open up again and see if we have questions on the demo projects that you have presented. I would definitely have questions, but if there are others, then they are welcome as well. First, I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about the user experience or the end users. With this demo projects, did you involve them into these developments, for example, working on the lower temperatures in the heating grid, or did you just do it, or did you do it together with the district heating operator? And if you did it together with the district heating operator, did the end users even realize that you did an improvement in the grid and that there have been some changes, or is it just that they might think now, as you analyze them automatically, for example, in Tartu, that it's simply working better and they have a less failures in the grid?
And the district heating operator in Tartu was involved in the project, was one of the partners. They were, it's basic, it's essential to have them involved because they were the ones implementing the mixing chamber to reduce temperature, and they were the ones, because we work from Spain, they work in the field, and it was essential. They were very happy because the investment was payback in 1 year. They give so much energy that a small reduction on the thermal level gives you a really huge payback. So they were really involved, but no end user was involved in the Tartu demo case because it was not needed. It was not needed because of this analysis we performed. So it's very good that maybe they get cheaper price, or they get also the benefit of environmental benefits, but they don't see a real benefit because they get exactly the same. So that's good. I think maybe they will lower some fees or something, but I'm not very sure because it's somehow related to a state fixed price. On the Spanish demo case, they were involved on the end users because we changed the radiator, all conventional radiators working at 70 degrees for fan coils. So yes, we talked with them, we explained the situation, and they were happy. They were happy. Yes, but it's not really, it was not end user center. It was not a project with taking into account the end user, but yeah, I think it's important to have them in future projects.
Thank you. So, seeing if someone else has questions.
If no questions, I can also add that in the Spanish demo case, we save 100 megawatts hour per year, which is, I think, important output, and 22 tons of CO2 thanks to this transformation into low temperature. In the case of Tartu, they work with biomass, and it was already low carbon district heating, but as I said, the payback was in 1 year, and they are now replicating the same in more sub networks of the network, which is really good.
So basically, this project showed them that the monitoring system can be rolled out in the whole district heating grid, and that they implement it on their own. So basically, from the financial perspective, that's easy. If it's a payback in 1 year, you do it on the 1st of January, and your business model is not influenced by that a lot.
Exactly.
Just so this is one step of lowering the temperature in the grid. Have they already thought about some further steps on reducing the temperatures even further, or are they happy with this solution, or are there further steps in their developments planned and foreseen?
Well, they are very happy because they get the investment in 1 year, and it's but no, to go farther below, they will have to work with the buildings. They will have to change all radiators. Estonia was part of the Soviet Union, so I'm pretty sure the buildings are on this manner built. So it will be a really important issue to work on the energy efficiency of the buildings. You will need to improve the envelope. You will need to change the radiators to go lower on the temperature, because you need a lot of energy to heat these buildings. This is something that is, we talked with them, this is something that is far beyond the scope of the company, which is making money out of heat. But Estonia has a plan to do so. And also in the Spanish demo case, or the Spanish case, this is related to the public government, and the public government needs to improve the efficiency in 3% of the surface needs to be improved every year. And this means that, yes, they will do it. They will improve the envelope, improve the energy efficiency of the buildings, and lower the temperature. This is something they want to do, yes.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no further questions, I say thank you again, Antonio. And
of course,
we will move on to our last speaker of the day, Tommaso, head of the Office of Impact Models at Banca Etica. He will introduce the social and environmental dividend and impact assessment from Banca Etica. Tommaso, hello. Good to see you. And you can share the screen, and I would say the floor is yours. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Before sharing the slides, I will tell you something about Banca Etica in general. Banca Etica is, as its name suggests, is an ethical bank. This means that is a bank, a commercial bank, which offers all traditional and usual products for a typical bank, but following the criteria of ethical finance. This means that we have a culture of taking into account all the, we call them the known economic consequences of economic activity, and so we are a bank based on transparency and on the promotional well-being in general. Under this idea of doing banking, we have been developing a number of tools to evaluate the responsibility profile of our customers, because we want to be fully transparent to our savers and to our members about the way the money are actually spent. Actually, we do publish on our website the list of all the companies that we do finance. So we are fully transparent in this sense. And how do we do this? And now I will share you the slides. You should be seeing the slides. Do you?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Great, wonderful. In order to evaluate the profile of our customers, we develop a social environmental assessment process. This means that for every client organization, so juridical person, businesses that ask for a loan to the bank, we do a double assessment. We do the traditional economic and financial diligence that, of course, is needed to evaluate whether the client will be able to repay the loan. But we also do a social environmental assessment on which we put attention on both the corporate social responsibility of the organization that we are financing, as well as on the impact that the financing will generate through the action of our client. First of all, the first, let's say, thing that we check when delivering a loan is the respect of a list of exclusion criteria. Banca Etica does not finance a number of specific sectors which are considered harmful for people, for the environment, and for society in general. As you can see from the list on the left-hand side, there are a number of sectors that we don't finance that are related to environmental aspects. In general, we do not finance initiatives which have an obvious or relevant a negative impact on the environment. In general, we do not finance fossil fuels and also dangerous energy sources. So we do not finance nuclear power. But also, for example, we do not finance intensive animal husbandry since we try to promote organic farming and not polluting activities. Aside to these exclusion criteria, we do also have some preferred areas of use, which actually then are not vinculating, but these are the sectors in which we try to push more our credit activity. So, as I told you, when we do the social environmental assessment, we look at two aspects of the activity of our clients. On the one hand, on their social responsibility, and we do look at the typical areas of CSR literature, and also we look at the impact. In the sense, we see the impact generally actually produced by the organization as a whole, and also more specifically to the impact which will be generated by the use of the loan, so the impact of the financing. Why we do this? There are a number of reasons why a bank is doing this. Of course, we are an ethical bank, so we are very much interested in this activity. But you will see now that many other financial organizations are moving in this direction, because the reason why the financial system is interested in assessing ESG aspects have a different let's call it a different implication on banking activities. Well, the first of all are internal controls. So we have to know that our customer respect our responsibility profile. This is because our savers don't want that their money are used to finance harmful activities. And also we want to be aware that the money we lend are actually generating positive impacts. So we have to monitor them. This is at level of single loan that we are promoting, but then we have some we'd call it statistical purposes, then analysis of the aggregated data for which we want to be accountable on what we do. We want to be transparent, so we have to be able to measure what we are doing and then show it outside through our reporting. And also to be aware that the objectives that we have set as a bank in terms of impact are then actually fulfilled. But also we are using this non-financial information within our probability of default models. This means that we have evidence that a number of aspects related to non-financial information, that is the kind of governance, the kind of approach towards climate change and so on and so forth, may have a significant relationship with the ability of our clients to repay the loans. And so we do use this information for both our assessments, of course, for the ethical assessment, but also for the financial assessment, because we have seen that responsible enterprises are also those that better repay their loans. So we integrate non-financial information within our financial risk modeling. Last but not least, Banca Etica has a strong mission in terms of culture. So in the same way in which we want to demonstrate that it's possible to do banking without doing speculation, without financing harmful activities, we can do banking being transparent and being a cooperative, for example. All these aspects are cultural in a movement that wants to change the economic system, maybe changing it from within. Also, this activity has a cultural value, because we want to push our clients towards a culture of disclosure, a culture of transparency, and to make them aware of the relevance of the non-financial information and of the social corporate responsibility. So I come back to this slide just to put some attention on the amount of information that we collect in the first part of the questionnaire that we submit to our clients on CSR. We collect information for about 150 indicators, so it's a very broad and burdenful section, but that is of course important for us to have a profile, even if this information is then diversified by size of the enterprises and sectors and the age of the enterprise. So not all the organization received the same questions. In the section on impact, this is much lighter because clients may select among 24 areas of impact. So they just pick up the areas of impact where they are active. And for each one of those, they can answer to one or two specific indicators on the impact that is actually generated. So what comes out of these? In general, we have our impact areas, and for each one of these, we can understand how much money we have lent in each area, both in terms of direct impact, that is the impact of the financing, so money that has been directly used for financing projects active in these areas, and also indirect impact, the fact that we are financing an organization which in general is working on a theme, even if it has used the money for example, just cash flows or just other reasons, but still we are financing an organization which for its core activity is producing impact. So the first outcome is being aware of the distribution of our loans between the different areas, including also a small amount of loans which has no impact. But then the clients can give us more detail about the actual impact that they generate. And so, for example, the number of jobs that have generated, or the vulnerable people placed in employment, or if we talk about environmental aspects, we can say that we have financed 1,400 energy efficiency projects, or financed the cultivation of 3,000 hectares of organic farming, and so on and so forth. We don't get into the detail, but we have these two levels, just the level of money distribution, and then the specific level of impact generated. Then this specific impact is then translated into what we call the social environmental dividend. That means that we are able to link the role of our members, so those that are providing the capital to the bank, the social capital to the bank, to the actual impact. You have to know that banks need to cover the loans that they disperse with some part of their capital. This means that if I make a risky loan, I have to have some capital to securitize that risky loan. The riskier the loan, the more capital I need to put aside to cover that risk. In general, we have a factor of 15. That means that each euro of shares of capital allows the disbursement of about 15.3 euros of financing. And these mean to our members that for every 1,000 euros in share capital, the bank will finance about 15,000 euros of financing that can be translated into actual impacts, into those that you can see in this slide. And this is a way to put directly in relationship the role of our members. You have to consider that we are a cooperative, and we have a very we are a cooperative. How do you call it in English? A stock-based cooperative. This means that we do have shares. Our capital is divided by shares. None of our members can have more than 1% of our shares, so it's a very distributed control, and every member has one vote in terms of one head, one vote. So the bigger members, those that have a larger number of shares, have the same voting abilities as those that have the same, the minimum amount of shares. So it is for us very relevant to make clear to our members, however small they are, which is the role in their generation of impact. I'll use a few more minutes that I have for this presentation to make a small in-depth on our assessment of the carbon footprint and the ecological aspect that we are facing in this phase that maybe are more linked to the discussion that we are having today. Well, Banca Etica is member of network, a global network that is called the Global Alliance for Banking on Values. That is a network of banking organizations which follow a value-based approach, an ethical approach. In 2019, we signed a climate change commitment that in which we pledged to monitor our emissions, indirect emissions, so the emissions of our investment, by 2022. Actually, we started to disclose those data in 2020, following the PCAF standard. The PCAF standard is a global standard to disclose the indirect emission of the financial sector. And right now we are finalizing the setting of our SBTi standards for planning a decarbonization plan. But how can we make this decarbonization plan? Well, for what relates to our direct emissions, since 2018, we have abated them by about 70%. That's a good result, but this is a result that every bank is called to make in a very, very short time. Actually, the European Banking Authority call for an achievement of this result in just 2 or 3 years, because the big issue is the indirect emissions. As you can see, we have 136 tons of direct emissions, those that derives from our own activities, but the indirect emissions, those that are related to our investments, are 3,000 times larger. So the real issue for the financial system is working on these indirect emissions. And how do we do this? Also considering that we don't have the chance to move away from polluting activities, because we we never financed fossil fuels, so most banks can do the financing by divesting, disinvesting from fossil energy and moving away to other sector. We can't do this because we are not financing oil and gas. So we have a few other options, and the option is making our clients aware of the problems and help our clients to reduce their emissions. So we do this through culture. So we produce an ESG rating for which our clients can show their positioning also in terms of emissions and see if they have space for reduction. We help them to measure the emissions, and we give them incentives for those that are actually decarbonizing. It is a long journey because very few of our clients, but this is as we can see a common aspect of all enterprises, at least in Italy, but also as we can see in Spain, where we do work as well. Actually, Banca Etica is active both in Italy and Spain. As you can see in this graph, we have a relationship between the relationship. We have a map of the emission according to the quality of data that we have. One is where we have highest quality of data, and in the case of enterprises, it's when the data are declared by the companies. For lower quality of data is where we have the data on emissions estimated on a sectoral basis. Of course, we cannot work on decarbonization if the organization are not even measuring their emissions. So the starting point is facilitating the access to measurement of emissions to our clients, and more let's say that we have to move this big ball of loans on estimated emissions down here. So in a process of decarbonization, but also of awareness about the actual emissions of our clients. Aside of this, we have built a few environmental covenants that are improving conditions on our interest rates for those clients that respect some environmental conditions. This can be a plan to reduce the intensity of emissions, or can be a plan to reduce the share of non-recycled raw materials, or what will be including in the near future will be a discount for all those clients which use only renewable energy. So if a client has a decarbonization plan, for the time in which it respects that plan, we will offer them a discount. And all this means that we try to build a general rationale for a strategy for decarbonization that is made in this way. We do offer important discounts to access to a decarbonization tool. So we have an agreement with a company that accompanies clients into the measurement of emissions, and also in the building of a decarbonization plan for our client members. This access is very facilitated. For small medium enterprise, they have free access to the calculation, and then we also have discounts on the consultancy for building the decarbonization plan. Once they have the decarbonization plan, they can also have access to our covenants. So we try to accompany all our clients towards a path of decarbonization, which will allow then finally also the bank to respect the objectives and the targets for decarbonization. All this comes out into an impact report that we do publish yearly, and on which I would stress one aspect. We try to make an effort to show how all our money are flowing within our books, within our budget. Of course, we are generating positive impacts, but all banks, all financial institutions are generating positive impacts. This is not what really makes the difference. What makes the difference is the composition, is the fact that while you are generating positive impact, you are not generating a harmful impact. And this is not really typical to be disclosed by the financial sector. So what we try to do is to show where our money come from the capital, from deposits, and the assets that we have to be used. Then we show how these assets are used between loans to organizations, loans to people and households, and into bond and financial activities. Then we try to define some criteria to define what is to be considered impact finance and non-impact finance, and in this way show the share of impact finance for loans to people, to enterprises, and from bonds, and also highlighting the share of non-impact assets that we do have. And then with the tools that the question that you saw, be able to show which are the flows towards the different areas of impact. In this way, we are able to produce some structural indicators over our ability to generate impacts that is not only the number of organization that we have financed with a positive impact, or the actual values of the impact, because every organization we have this data. We are much more interested in saying that 98% of our financing to organization and to companies is with a positive impact, or 86% of the personal loans that we have dispersed as somehow a positive impact, and so on and so forth. So we try to be as more transparent as possible on our 360 degree activity. That's it. I rest here for any further question.
Thanks a lot for this very interesting presentation, and from a technician's perspective, it was also very interesting to get the point of view of a bank on these projects, and to see how this the data projects rather, developments rather provide is used and processed further. I would open up to all the participants. If you like, you can ask questions. In the meantime, I would start with one of my questions, if it's okay. One rather practical question is, do you, to Tommaso, do you publish the list of indicators and questions you use for your assessments on your webpage in order to invite potential projects that wouldn't apply for a loan at your bank to do a self-assessment in the upfront, or do you do these assessments on your own, and is it rather something that is then performed during the application process? And if
yeah, well, right now we only use it through the internal processes, but in 2024 we will open it up to any organization, mainly to clients. What we are trying to do is to build a tool in which the use of the data of the questionnaire are more and more useful to the clients. This for two reasons. For of course, let's say on the one hand, we want that the information that we collect is of higher quality, and in order to have higher quality information, we have to put our clients in the condition of using that information, so that clients will be interested themselves to share quality information. And so we are developing a number of tools to be used by clients that can then enter into our platform that we currently use, fill in the questionnaire or parts of the questionnaire to get some feedbacks on their positioning on ESG aspects with respect to their in their sector, or with respect to their similar organizations. We will allow the entering into the conditions for measuring CO2 emissions, and also support for the building of a sustainability report. So we will try to help to give something back to our clients, and also to use our ESG platform not only when asking for a loan, but in general as a tool that is useful for managing ESG information as an enterprise. This will be done by mid of next year. We are working on this in these very days.
Very interesting. I'm also working a lot in respect to financing and funding for projects and in different fields, and therefore I might be the one who is asking more questions than others here. But especially I was also interested in two more things. The first thing is in your assessments and your support for the indirect emissions that you cause to develop these plans towards low emission economies that you basically financially support. How successful is this? Do you have already experience with a lot of projects that have gone through this process, or is this rather something new and under development? And do you in person from the banking of from Banca Etica support them, or do you rely on technical partners to provide them the guidance on this way forward?
Well, the project is brand new, so we still don't have many many examples. Actually, the access to the platform for the calculation for the CO2 will start in January. So we still don't have the full cycle, but we are doing it with a company that is working on it. Is an Italian company that is called Up to You. They have a very useful and easy to use web platform for the calculation of the CO2, and they accompany the clients into the calculation also, because the frameworks for the calculation must be adopted to the specificities of the different enterprises, mainly for the larger ones. So we don't do this part on decarbonization plan and measurement ourselves, but we do it in collaboration with this specialized company. We have started to use some of the covenants, but we are at the very beginning because we launched them at the beginning of this year. So we still haven't seen a real decarbonization path of our clients. It's something that we will see during years. But the overall framework will be active really soon.
Very interesting.
Actually, on the 1st of February, the first clients will start work with Up to You. We had some pilots during this year, so a few of our clients have started to do the whole process just to check if it's actually working, and the pilot is over. So we are launching the whole process early next year.
So, yeah, then congratulations and good luck with the next steps on this. As I don't see any other raised hands, I don't want to be the only one asking questions, but I'm very interested, so I will have to ask another one. How do you see the future for Banca Etica? Do you rather see difficult to identify projects or companies that are aligned with your high standards that you want to introduce and that you want to set? So do you have difficulties to identify project, or is it rather on the other side that you are having difficulties increasing the share capital and finding new members or shareholders in the bank to finance these projects? So where are the bottlenecks for Banca Etica?
In general, the biggest bottleneck is the collection of capital. We have a lot of liquidity because we have lots of people that put their savings in Banca Etica because they want money to be used responsibly, but it's much more difficult to collect capital. And this, in some phases, has represented a constraint for the disbursement of new loans. If we don't increase the capital, we can't increase the loans. Nevertheless, until this year, that with the rising interest rate, of course, has shown a stabilization of the loans disbursed. Banca Etica is growing rapidly. In last 10 years, we have been growing loans of about 10% every year in a context in which the credit system is almost flat. So I think that despite the fact that we ask so much information and that doing a process with Banca Etica is more burdenful than doing it with another bank, just because we ask a lot of information that other banks don't. I think that more and more organizations are aware that this is something that is anyway relevant, and that is part of the way of doing business right now. And we are very much convinced. Of course, we have a lot of clients who complain about the fact that this assessment is longer and burdenful, but we try then to make it as more efficient as possible. On the future, I don't see it easy. Of course, we have been working a lot on renewable energies and on energy efficiency because the market is moving very much on this. There is a lot of requests. In Italy, there has been important incentives at a public level that in which the banks had a role. So it's a sector on which we are working very much. But we are still not sure whether it will be really easy to push organizations to decarbonize. Actually, we have seen that only the measurement of the emissions is something that very, very few organizations do. Within our clients, are for a large part non-profit sector. About 1/3 of our portfolio is made by non-profit sector and social cooperatives. So maybe the environmental aspect is not central in their activities. Okay, it's not manufacturing. They are not energy intensive in general, but still. We have data on carbon footprint for about 2% of our clients, and among the large enterprises of about 6%, 7%. So it's really not common to have this attention. I do believe that this will be increasing, but we see that we have to give more and more incentives to push them. Then, of course, they know that it's important, and we understand that we are giving incentives, but also in the economic system is more and more asking enterprises to be compliant under this point of view, even if the procurement chains are more and more careful about selecting providers that can be accountable on ESG factors and mainly on environmental factors. So to be open to the market, many organizations will have to have a clear positioning and a clear disclosure on this. I think and I hope we will find sensibility on this, and in general, I mean, organizations that are coming to Banca Etica tend to be somehow sensitive to this aspect. They are conscious about the emergency that we are living at a global level.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the response. And I also feel that not all of our associations and organizations that are represented here today do an environmental impact assessment or emission assessment of their daily duties, I would assume. So I don't see any other questions, so I think I have asked all the important facts already. So I would say it's time for wrap up and conclusions. So we've learned today a lot about non-financial costs and benefits of district heatings, ranging from interesting studies and to the long-lasting developments in the Dansk Fjernvarme sector and its community and sharing approach. We have all benefited from the experiences and implementations of low temperature district heating systems in existing grids, and also gained insights in the social environmental assessment and learned that transparency and social approaches are rated more reliable in financial aspects, and that we will hold on until next year to know if our projects would be assessed positively by Banca Etica. And with this, I wanted to thank you all for joining us here today for this Christmas edition of the Train the Trainer sessions. I wanted to thank all the speakers and the participants. But before I let you go, I will have a couple of practical informations on the next slide. So first, we have our survey on feedback of this session today. Please provide them. We will try to still use it for the 6th session and maybe not only for training sessions that we will organize within ConnectHeat, but also in other projects in the future. So feedback is valuable and highly welcome. From a practical point of view, we will make the recordings, slides, and other materials like the studies that Ricardo has presented available on the ConnectHeat toolbox. And so with this, I wanted to also spotlight quickly Clémence. Clémence is here and supporting us despite some personal difficulties, and it is actually her last day here in Fedaren as she will leave us. And I wanted to thank her a lot for your support in the ConnectHeat project and in other respects. And I wish her all the best luck and all the best things to happen to her in the near future in her challenge of moving abroad and learning new experiences. All the best. And last but not least, I also want to thank again all the speakers for joining us and making this session so interesting as I experienced it, and hope to see and hear and learn from each other again in the very near future. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Have a nice
everyone.
day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Have a nice Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas. Thank you.